Durban is a city that is fast reinventing itself, not only in the fun architectural experiences, whether it be transporting one back into the golden days of the 1930s with Art Deco creations, reflective of Hollywood movie palaces and Las Vegas casinos, or immersing one in the spirit of the Zulu kingdom, where beehive huts and Zulu traditions have made their mark on the architectural offerings of the many leisure centres in this holiday city. Part of this reinvention is an embracing and even a reveling in the city's subtropical splendour, with palm trees springing up everywhere and lush plants and water features not only becoming an integral part of the buildings, but taking pride of place in the many open spaces that are breathing new life into a city which is beginning to relish its fast-growing green image. All this is creating an environment which is conducive to a host of outdoor activities, so that exercising in the open not only becomes a novel, but fun experience. One of the most successful outdoor features to appear on the local Durban scene is the cycling and walking track along the Durban beachfront. It stretches all the way from Ushaka Marine World to the Blue Lagoon, passing Moses Mabhida Stadium on the way. It's a leisurely 20-minute ride, and at absolutely no cost. You just come out here and use a little bit of energy and feel really good.
There's a lot of families out and everyone's doing barbecues and eating and just enjoying the day, so it's really awesome.
Terrified already, just looking at it. Terrified. I'm mad. I might not do it.
It's amazing. Oh my God.
Ushaka Marine Park has over the years become a green lung along this stretch of beachfront. It's actually hard to believe that this theme park, with its luscious subtropical vegetation, giving it the feel of an island location, was once a barren piece of ground into which tons of concrete was poured. There's a mixture of plant life that is happening right now, and it's between exotics and indigenous. Now, we're right here by the palm trees, and they are exotic. So Durban does have a little bit of a tropical climate, so would you say they're actually okay to be here?
Yeah, although exotic, Durban is subtropical, and Durban has plenty of palm trees.
So you're the curator of the aquarium, but the gardening is kind of a passion of yours. So are you walking around and advising about indigenous plants?
I'm paid to look after the fish here, but gardening is my passion, and I help out and give advice to our gardening team.
I'd love to see the very first tree that was ever planted here. Can we go and have a look?
Yep, sure.
Cool.
This is a coastal red milkwood. It's a very typical tree on the Natal coast. It was planted at about 1 meter in height, but it's well established, and if you look closely you can see it's in full berry. Lots of berries
Oh yes.
up here, and these will turn red and attract birds as they fruit.
My first time, I'm so excited. Well, I'm just waiting to face the sharks right underwater.
what better way to get a totally different perspective of Durban, and we are travelling on a gondola along the regeneration of the Point area, and it's in true African style with my driver Bongani, and it's really awesome to enjoy a totally different part of our city. Just behind me here is the breeding area for the sharks that will then go into Ushaka, so they're making full use of the water here. At the far end of the track is another green lung, the Beachwood Mangroves Nature Reserve. It's hard to believe that I'm walking here in this beautiful mangrove forest, which is full of the black mangroves, and yet we're just minutes away from the city centre full of skyscrapers. They are relatively young but have reached their full height. Keith, I'm seeing these little creatures on the tree. They're very well camouflaged. What are those?
Those are climbing whelks. They're fairly common in mangroves. And seeing a number of them like we do here points out that this is a fairly good ecosystem. It's a healthy ecosystem. The ones on the tree are up there to get out of the water. When the tide goes out, they go down and they start feeding in the mud. Down here we have a couple, and they filter through the mud for food.
So there's still a little creature living in there?
Yes, there is. I'll turn him over. He's closed his little flap. That's protection.
I'm seeing all over there are just hundreds and thousands of holes. Are all these holes habitat of the crabs?
Yes. These small holes are fiddler crabs. You can see a couple over there. They're two different species, and I think we've possibly got 3 different species of fiddler crab here. The red mangrove crab, and there are around about 1 million of them around. We also have the marsh crab and the swimming crab here. Now this is the only place in the reserve where we have the 3 types of mangrove together. The white mangrove, which is this one and that one. Black mangrove, a young tree here. And the red mangrove, as you can see with its prop roots, completely different root system. And if you have a look at the end of these new roots, you'll see it is a reddish color.
Now they look as if they're dominating this area. Do they kind of fight for territory, or is this?
No, they share it. You very seldom find 2 or 3 growing in the same place. They're fairly spaced out.
Moving up from the beachfront into a residential area, overlooking the city, we find another green lung. This is Lower Glenwood in Bulwer Park, and what the city has done, it's created a running track with an outdoor gym, which I'm going to go and try now. Isn't this great? An outdoor park is normally full of jungle gyms, but this is an outdoor gym that the whole family can take part in. And it's just so awesome because there's flats around here, and yet we can utilize still the outdoor spaces in the parks nearby. So I'm going to try one of these. Just come off the bus.
Yeah, just stop here just to do some few exercise before I go back to my work.
And are you a bus driver full-time?
Yeah, I'm a bus driver full-time.
Okay, and what is the bus waiting for?
Waiting for pick up some student, then go back to the dresses.
Well done, I think that's brilliant.
I want to lose some few kilos here.
This is very clever because each piece of equipment has details on exactly how to use it. So you don't need a trainer, you're outdoors. This is just a fantastic way to exercise. This one is for my shoulders, so I can feel it working. I also really enjoy the fact that you can actually interact with everybody that is using this. So you're interacting with the community and bringing everybody together. I love it. The spectacular 15-hectare Botanical Gardens on Durban's Berea is a green gem that has the distinction of being the oldest botanical garden in Africa. It was created more than 150 years ago, and it exudes an aura of peace and tranquility. Over the years, it has become home to a number of threatened cycad collections. Behind me is one of the rarest plants on Earth. It's the male species of the woody eye cycad. In 1895, John Medley Wood discovered this last remaining cycad in the Ingornia forest in Zululand. He brought it here on an oxen cart, and it has remained here ever since. It's approximately 300 years old now, and they survived to 1,000 years old. There are no female species on this earth. In fact, in Kew Gardens in the UK, through a clone of the male, they're trying to create a female species. It's going to take many years. 3 clones of the male here, and they are looking after them very carefully to ensure the remaining species survive. There are over 80 trees in the Durban Botanical Gardens that are heritage trees that are over 100 years old, and this is one of them. The kauri pine tree, 117 years old. It's originally from Australia, and why it was so significant is that it grew, the trunk grew so strong and straight that it was used during the shipbuilding times. Now we have the wonderful sparrowhawks nesting in it on an annual basis. They come back. We're walking towards the Alalawan palm tree. This is an indigenous tree, and this one is 145 years old, and it grows extensively in Zululand, where the locals make palm wine out of it. It's interesting the way that it grows because it really looks like a sculpture. This is such an enchanting tree. It is the banyan tree, and it feels like it's moving. In fact, it's nicknamed the walking tree because as it drops its roots from its branches and it touches the ground, so the new trunks are actually grown, and it can spread out widthwise. In India, there is one that is apparently 1.9 kilometers in width, and it's so massive that they've built a temple in the trunk of the tree. It's a very sacred tree to India. This is a stunning sculpture done by a Cape Town artist, Jenny Cullinan, in 2007, and it's depicting the greatest shoal on earth, which is our sardine run on the KwaZulu-Natal coastline. Here are the sardines in absolute abundance. There is a whale coming up with a seal in its mouth. We have the shark behind it here, and it's really talking about the abundance of the sea life. We have a turtle on this side, and we also have the seagulls diving into the sea, also feeding off the sardines. On this side here, we have the other side of the shark and the seal in the whale's mouth. This was done on a tree that had fallen over, and she really wanted to bring about the awareness of what global warming is doing to the abundance of our ocean life. This is a unique part of the park because it reminds us of our senses. So we have an onion here, which is for smell. We have a harp, which is for sound. A chili that represents taste. And then the eyeball is the sight. And we have the eyeball that is actually crying, which reminds us of all our emotions. In addition, they have the plants around here that feed into your sensory experience. So they have the cactus, they have the chilies, they have the lavender. So they're referring to all your senses represented in the plant life. What is really special about this park is that it has become a natural habitat for a number of bird species, particularly water birds. The water that they are attracted to here is from a natural spring and is just one of the watering holes that the Berea elephants, the last of which was seen around the mid-19th century, would have stopped to drink at on their migratory route over the Berea Ridge, down to the Greyville Marshes, the present-day Royal Durban Golf Course. Lying directly in their path over the ridge is what has become known as Elephant House, after it survived many attacks from local elephant herds who forcefully tried to remove it. Built in 1849 as a hunting lodge, who knows, maybe those early pachyderms were taking their revenge on those setting out to destroy them. It now has the distinction of being the oldest house in Durban and was saved from demolition by Elaine and Brian Agar, who bought it in the 1970s and painstakingly restored it to preserve its history. Their garden is full of indigenous plants and historical artifacts, including this old cannon from a shipwreck off Durban in the 19th century. A collection of bottles found in the garden served to create another link with the past. The view from the ridge where the house is located is a far cry from what the area looked like in the 19th century, when most of the area then would have been covered in a lush coastal climax forest, a pocket of which can still be experienced today in Pigeon Valley, an 11-hectare reserve in Upper Glenwood overlooking the bay. Proclaimed a natural heritage site, it's an unusual example of an urban reserve with very high levels of biodiversity, including some of the province's indigenous forest giants, such as the rare Natal elm, the Natal fig, fluted coastal milkwood, and the Natal mahogany. Red and blue duiker have found refuge here in this urban sanctuary, and there is a prolific bird life. Coastal forest has also been conserved in a much larger green lung, the Steinbeck Nature Reserve located in Yellowwood Park. This urban reserve offers the opportunity to experience the kind of vegetation that covered much of Durban during the early days of the Berea elephants. Here, in an area of 253 hectares, through which run a network of cycling tracks and 13 kilometers of hiking trails, one is likely to encounter a number of different herbivores roaming freely in a mixed habitat of coastal forest and grassland. Artist Andres Buerta has celebrated the memory of the Berea elephants in this sculpture. His work is part of a growing presence of artwork around the city, painted on buildings, concrete structures, and recycled containers, all part of the regeneration of a city which, like the elephants, is emerging out of the past to breathe new life into open spaces. Durban is just one of many cities that is beginning to connect with a green consciousness, which is making itself felt worldwide by turning urban areas into much happier, healthier living spaces through environmentally friendly architecture, urban artwork, nurturing of the green lungs, nature trails, and more cycling tracks.